Hey everybody, it's Mace1370, and today Veritas is fighting life in Guild Wars. Before we get into it though, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, please check the video description below for a link to my Discord. Okay, so the first match here is against ImTenBird. The theme for this Guild Wars will be YOLO, so I'm going to be using kind of risky teams. Probably don't copy these, they're probably not super consistent. So for round one, I'm going all in with Basar here against Carrot. Pretty big brain if you ask me. So we basically just have to fingers crossed here that my Basar doesn't miss on the Carrot, and he does not, because he's the man. So we get the pushback. Carrot does dispel buff block though, so her passive is used up. We can use this opportunity to apply hit down with RB's skill 3, and it looks like ImTenBird's Carrot is pretty tanky, because she did not take very much damage there. The Landy looks a little squishier. I decided to skill 3 onto the Carrot because I didn't want to get a ton of burns on my team, so I was trying to potentially, delay or even kill her before she got her skill 3 off. The Landy did a fair amount of damage. I was hoping my RB, would res with greater attack buff and just wipe him out really quick. But I kind of forgot that Carrot didn't have buff block, and so she's going to get the FCC shield, so skill 3 on her was a mistake. I probably should have just went on the Landy there instead. Carrot does have attack down from the Basar, which is nice, so it'll reduce the damage from the burns a bit, but I still take a fair bit of damage here. No greater attack proc, unfortunately, from Alexa Basket. I'm still going to soul burn just to get a little bit more damage so I can finish off people as soon as possible. So Landy goes down. My Spectre Tenebra is on lifesteal, that's why I brought her into this fight. I figured that she could heal enough of the burn damage to not die to the burns, and I was technically correct.
Whose turn is it today?
So we could skill 1 here onto the Carrot in hopes to transfer the burn back to her, but I think we could then get reburned ourselves, so I'm just going to kill the FCC, and RB can now finish off Carrot. So that is a very successful round 1. Didn't even lose a hero. Alright, round 2 here we have to deal with LQC with attack buff. I did bring a dark unit, but it's ML Lilica and she is able to hide herself with stealth, so we should be able to avoid the skill 3 from Little Queen Charlotte. I brought ML Lilica here because she has extinction, so she will be able to permanently kill the units from the enemy team and prevent ImTenBird's maid from resurrecting them. So LQC goes down. I don't know if we would have killed without the defense break there. We did quite a bit of damage. I don't really know how he has LQC built. But there's no mitigation on this side of the field, so there's a potential that we would have one-shot her. It probably would have been, she probably would have narrowly survived, which would have been, no bueno if we didn't get that defense break from Flurry. Even if she lived, though, I think we would have been pretty safe here. This team is, less YOLO than the other one, just because we have Ruel, so if we didn't kill, we just have to cycle around, for Flurry's defense break again, or just kill LQC twice or something like that. Ravi's a really slow character, and so we can basically just ignore her while we focus down the maid. I can refresh ML Lilica's skill 3 here, so we can go back into maid and just totally ignore her res buff. ML Lulu is a really powerful hero in Guild Wars right now just because of her extinction ability. It makes her really nice. And now I just have to hope that Ravi doesn't counter me to infinity and beyond. But even if Ravi counters a bunch, I think we're still okay since it's 3-on-1 at this point. So there's a counter, but the Dingosaur barrier saves us. So I could hold my skill 3 until Ravi goes to the back, but I think it's fine just to use it. This gets rid of attack buff off of her as well, which is nice just to kind of mitigate her damage. She cleanses off the provoke there, but defense break is still on, which means that our Emilulu here is definitely going to get a kill. Alright, so Ravi is down, and that is the first fight. Okay, here is round 2, this time against Panshui. His team in round 1 has Arby and Crow, so I basically just have to play around those, and for the most part I can ignore Cerise. So I brought Archdemon Mercedes here because she'll be able to seal the Arby and prevent him from rezzing. She also has Ayala Violin, so she can strip away a lot of the annoying buffs. And Rast is literally here just to die. He can eat a Crow horse because he's red, so Crow will definitely horse into him. Ideally, that would happen while he has the res buff from Maid, but he has really high base speed, so there's a good chance he'll just cycle out of it. I used the skill 3 on Maid here just to get rid of Cerise's debuffs and put attack buff on my Archdemon Mercedes, so that we can finish this off a little, more quickly. Something that's pretty big tech right now is putting Shamadra's Staff on Maid Chloe, because she has a new passive that they buffed, giving 20 ER to everybody on your team. So if you use Shamadra's Staff along with that, now your entire team gets 40 effect resistance, which is actually pretty big. And her imprint release is also, or in concentration, I don't know, whichever the one that gives it to the entire team, that gives effect resistance to people also. So I think I have her at like S or something, so my entire team gets like 50 free effect res, which is pretty sick. So you see my Rast resisting multiple provokes and stuff, it's really nice, because he doesn't really have high base effect res. So we're just going into Arby here since he's sealed, we can finish him off, and then there's, very little threat to us. It's really just the Crow, and he's going to go into Rast, so we don't really care. We land a bunch of burns, so Arby is deado. Get a counterattack. I guess I probably should have just gone into Cerise there with that attack. She might have died, potentially. She was at 921 health. It would have been close. But either way, I think we're in a pretty safe spot at the moment. So here comes the Crow Horse. So Rast is dead. But that's okay, he did his job. I guess Ruel could have potentially been a better healer to bring to this fight. I wanted to try Maid, just to see how she did. I feel like her revive is it feels less safe, because Ruel, you have other healing abilities that you can toggle and use on demand, and you can hold that revive until you really need it. But with Maid, you kind of want to get attack buff up, and then once you put those buffs up, it's kind of out of your hands as to how fast everything turn cycles, and the buffs can easily fall away. So here I have one turn left on my res, and I have a whole bunch of debuffs on my team, so I decided to burn Maid Chloe here, so I can get around to my skill 3, and then this will cleanse off the team, or at least some number of the debuffs off the team. You can see she gets rid of 2 from each person. It brings Rast back. Unfortunately, he's pretty low, so he's not going to do a whole lot. He's also on Rise of the Monarch. I could have put him on like Adamant Shield or Aureus, potentially. Instead for this fight, since he was the one that would be taking most of the damage. Rise of the Monarch is not really doing very much here. Although I guess Archdemon Mercedes does have a shield from it. So we go ahead and finish off Cerise, and now it's just Crow who is left.
Is that all you've got?
I've been meaning to re-gear my Archdemon Mercedes for a while now. Her gear is probably pretty mediocre. I just don't farm very much Banshee, so it's hard to get good counter gear. Ideally, I would like her to have crit chance and some crit damage, just so she's a little bit more of a competent damage dealer. I have her on a bit of effectiveness now. I think that's fine as well. It would just be nice for her to do more damage. Alright, so here's round 2. This is a bit of a YOLO, but I think it's fairly safe. We can burn with Basar, so we know that we're going to hit our unbuffable here against Landy, G-Perg, and FCC. And now that Landy has buff block, she's exposed, and we can just, shoot our damage into Landy, and she's going to explode. I think it's pretty unlikely that she survives, the skill 3 from both Stenny and Emma but we get her with just the skill 3 from Stenny. Here I decided to stun the FCC, and I did that because I just didn't want to CR push them, but they were kind of already at the top, and we're going to get stunned here, but I think it's honestly fine. It doesn't really matter since G-Perg would have lapped back around and gotten to his stun eventually anyways. My thought was I wanted to keep buff block on the enemy team for as long as possible. I just didn't want FCC giving shields to people and stuff. So here I decided to burn. I want to heal out my Stenny a bit. I also want to kill as fast as possible since my team is not super tanky. And my Basar is already below half health. And he's kind of like the pseudo tank in this fight. He gets provoked there, which is pretty bad for me because I CR push FCC and G-Perg. I debate about skill 3 into G-Perg trying to kill him. I just decided to go for FCC because I know I can kill her for sure. And this will reset my cooldown and keep me in stealth.
Let's get warmed up.
You aren't even fit to kiss my feet.
This is actually a pretty tanky G-Perg, 26k HP.
Let's do this.
So our Basar goes down, very unfortunate, but we are able to take this one as well.
You want to stop now that I've won? How about no?
Okay, so round 3 here is against Shotgun Shogun. My first team, I think, against Landy, Ruel, and FCC is pretty safe, but my second team is absolutely YOLO, so I figured we'd end on a YOLO fight. Here, it's really just a matter of time, I think, before my Ravi is able to take this away and just, wipe out the enemy team. I theoretically could lose Crow or Maid Chloe, I think, but it's very unlikely, I think, that I lose Landy. I would have to get crit quite a bit by the Landy there. So I skill 3 here, just to get, revive buff up on people. I'm not really sure how hard this Landy's going to hit. I kind of want to get Crow into horse range ASAP so we can get rid of Ruel. The Landy does not go into stealth here. I debated about using my Crow Horse into Landy to go for the pushback. Instead, I decided to use it on FCC since she's not opposite element, so it's she's not gonna have that 50% miss chance. And this lets my Maid Chloe break the skill null off of the Landy and potentially get a stun on her to kind of lower her damage output. So we do get the stun, which is pretty sweet. And now we're in a scenario where we basically have to let Crow lose health so that he is in horse range. You also have to balance FCC shields during this process, which can be pretty annoying. You really don't want FCC to put her shield onto Ruel because it just increases her max total hit points and it makes it harder for Crow to one-shot her. So instead we hit the Landy a bit just to lower her health enough so that she is the lowest health target on the field right now, and that means that FCC will put her shields onto Landy. And so now we can do a little bit of chip damage to Ruel and get her, closer to horse range. Unfortunately, she's on Touch of Rekos, which is actually kind of annoying for this. And we took a good bit of damage there, so I was actually kind of scared I was going to lose, my Maid Chloe and Crow. But we do have the skill 3 from Ravi here, and if we get stuns, then we can probably stabilize. And we do stun the Landy there. So Ruel pops her skill 3 onto Landy. Ideally, we would have just horsed her before it got to this, but Crow has not taken his turn yet. I think he's probably in horse range. I might wait one more cycle, I don't remember. Okay, yeah, so that damage there from the Landy S1 and then the dual attack means that Crow is definitely in horse range for Ruel, so I just go for it here. This will get rid of Ruel, and now we just have to contend with the Landy and FCC.
Shall I let you dream endlessly?
Landy does go into stealth, which is kind of annoying. I was hoping that she'd pop out of stealth so that I would be able to stun her with Ravi, but that's not the case. So I'm just checking cooldowns here. It's not like we have a choice, but I was debating about soul burning on my Ravi there just to finish off the FCC. I think that could have been fine. It probably would have worked out, because FCC would have definitely been dead, and then everyone could have gone on to Landy here. My maid was still 1 turn off of her cooldown, though, and I was a little afraid that another skill 3 from Landy would wipe out my team, which, you know, could theoretically still happen, but this way at least I have the res buff on them, so they'll come back, and I think that I can finish off the FCC, you know, before we get back around. So I felt like at worst this was kind of a wash, and, you know, a wash with attack buff on my team, so it felt like, you know, a fine thing to do. But FCC takes a little bit longer to kill than I was anticipating. Get another nice stun from Maid Chloe there. That CR boost when she stuns is pretty nice. We're still 3 turns off of Horsing from Crow, which is unfortunate, and he's pretty low. So he's definitely going to die here, but he has, you know, the res buff to come back. Landy Guiding Lights again. Now we have our skill 3 from the Ravi, so hopefully this finishes FCC off and stuns both of them if FCC lives. Didn't get the stun on Landy this time, but FCC is now pretty much in lethal range, and did you see there how Maid Chloe used her S1 onto the FCC and we got that CR boost? So you kind of want to go into stun targets when you have the opportunity to do that with her, because you get that CR boost even if she wasn't the one who applied the stun, which is pretty sweet. At any rate, now that it is just Landy, we're really not in any risk of dying here, and our Crow even survives with over 1,000 hit points. Alright, so that is round 1. Or match 1, I should say. Okay, so this is the YOLO fight. So the thing I was a little scared about here, I wasn't sure how the speed tuning would work out. I brought Lilius to cleanse off everyone, but my Viseria is faster, so I was afraid that Flurry would go into Viseria and then I wouldn't be able to strip Rylet. I need to see exactly how Flurry's AI kit works. It looks like it's kind of random because she went on to RB. I assume she... it's like an element neutral thing, so it's possible maybe she could have gone into Lilius as well. The Cerise, you know, stripped away the Guiding Light stealth from Viseria, so she was vulnerable there. Viseria is able to get off her skill 3 though and lands it on Rylet, and then RB conveniently splashes into him and kills him, so this will be a very easy fight at this point.
I'll show you who's in charge.
Here I decide to taunt the Cerise. I did not want her stunning RB because he's my main damage source, and if he was stunned, then Flurry and Cerise would have probably had the opportunity to lap around a bunch, you know, get healed up from Flurry, etc., and that would have been annoying. So instead I just provoked the Cerise to prevent the stun. So that's it for this Guild War. Thanks for watching.